And we're live, right? Yeah, we're live. Hey guys, welcome back to the DLC podcast. We're talking games, movies, all things in between. That's Jacob.
What's up?
That's Brent, also known as Whip, the legendary manga reader. And the one in red is Juicy J. He's too cool for us.
Yeah,
I mean, it is what it is.
After
You gotta earn it.
After
I
this
respect
podcast, I got to talk to Juicy about Attack on Titan. We got to talk about that shit.
Oh man, that could have been a pre-show for you guys, man. That would have been cool to watch.
Yeah, but some of us are in California.
I know.
Turning it up, man. Out there surfing and everything, living life, partying.
Right.
I'm out here.
Of gold.
I know. Buying fake rocks of gold. I know, from the crack addicts down the street. That was literally across the street from this hotel that I'm staying in. I was like, God. But I'm out here for work, so it's not really fun. I'm just kind of like this weekend. I'm gonna be sitting in my hotel watching like horrible hotel TV all weekend. So,
dude, you have anime. Just watch anime.
That's true. I'll watch a Fire Force and Soul Eater.
Dude, that's a perfect matchup. Man, but let's get on the topic, shall we? So last week or 2 weeks ago, we did a topic where we had fighting games versus FPS games. So it's only right we finish off this little versus thing, and of course, there's multiple other genres we could dabble in, but I feel like these are the four main heavy hitters that everyone will know for sure. So it is now RPGs versus action adventure. And there goes Juicy J.
What's up, baby? You know, you gotta play hard to get. Coming at the last minute, swoop it.
I respect it, bro. I respect it. But so let's just get right into it. Web, you said you were thinking about this for a minute. So how about you kick us off?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you guys told me that the next topic was going to be this, I was like, what am I going to pick? Because I'm a big fan of RPGs, and I'm a big fan of action adventure. And I honestly think that sometimes both genres will bleed into each other.
Yes.
Right.
And so it's just kind of okay, because to some degree, if you think about it, a game like Horizon could be considered a role-playing game as well, because you level up, you put stats into certain things. Now it's not as super role-playing as maybe say a Bethesda game is, where that's a little bit more role-playing than something. But there's role-playing elements in action adventure, and there's action adventure elements in role-playing games, and it's just and then some of my most recent favorite games have been JRPGs, and at the same time, some of my most recent favorite games have also been action adventure games. So it's which one is better than the other? I don't know, because more often than not, they kind of bleed into each other. So one of my favorite games of all time is Persona 5 and Persona 4, which are JRPGs, right? They're role-playing games. But I also really like games Horizon Forbidden West recently came out. I really enjoyed that. And then what was one of the other ones that I recently bought? Yeah, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Man, just think about Horizon, baby. You don't need to give anything else right now.
The Spider-Man games would be action adventure, and those are my favorite games. God of War, action adventure, some of my favorite games. But once again, there's role-playing elements that are bleeding into Spider-Man, and so it's just
the way I would say real quick, because we all agree every genre has another genre bleeding into it. It's just what is the game's foundation, and for those games it'll be action adventure, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, so my favorite game of last year was a JRPG, and that was Tales of Arise.
I still need to play it.
But like my I'm gonna have to go with RPG over action adventure.
Okay.
Just because I my favorite games like I've played Persona 5 a total of 4 times.
God.
Between vanilla Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. I'm on my second playthrough of Persona 4 Golden. I'm playing what else was it? Yeah, it's just like RPGs have like I don't. But God, this one's tough. This one's pretty bad.
Dude, just follow your heart, man.
Yeah.
Just follow your heart, dude.
I can see the pain in your face.
You know your path, child. Now follow it. You know, like you made your decision.
RPGs, they're you can dump a ton of hours into them, right? Like, if you like, depending on which one they are, whether they be like the Bethesda games. Now let me ask you this: does Mass Effect qualify as an RPG, or would that be considered an action adventure? Because they're like, I would consider Effect to be an RPG,
How about
considering there's a lot of character decisions that need to be made, and there's a lot of ways that you can build your character through stats and things like that.
I've never played it. Have you played it, Jeremiah?
So actually, we had
according to Google, it is an action role-playing game, and third-person shooter.
Yeah, and so here's the thing: we actually had a similar, because I brought up on several occasions. Like, the problem is, what sets apart a role-playing game back in the day is it a concrete character you're playing, like the Uncharted Nathan Drake? That's Nathan Drake. I mean, he has his own personality. Or is it just this kind of deadpan, you're kind of putting yourself into that category? Because by technicality, Legend of Zelda kind of was that. You're this silent hero that you make the decisions for. You can be the guy that walks in and saves the day, or the guy that cuts down the chickens and fights everybody. You know, like, but when it comes down to it, RPG has that kind of turn-based system, kind of like action's kind of happening, but there's not really a lot of the adventure, more just always action, you know? So you're looking at like Persona. It has its adventure to it, but ultimately you're looking forward to like Persona 5, getting into the next castle, going to the next, world and stuff. And the mechanics, the combos, the mechanics with you and a team fighting together. And I think that's what we kind of really settled on with the RPGs just within our own talks. And so that's why with Mass Effect, it's like, no, it would kind of fall more into the action adventure. I mean, you do make decisions that do affect the world. Cough, cough, Mass Effect 3, and pretty much everything leads to the same ending. But but you see what I'm saying here. It's that would be action adventure. We're looking more towards, like, of course, Final Fantasy series runs the table, but it's not just that. The Tales series came out and was phenomenal. If you played any of the like Radiata stories, Grandia, all of those are RPGs because they have similar premise to what an RPG would be. You've got multiple people, you're doing multiple combos, and it's still kind of a turn-based system. Even Grandia, where you could run around an arena on a kind of a timer using all your people, and you have to wait for the timer for the enemies as they're moving. It's still turn-based, so you're still kind of reacting, And I think that really what it came down to was like the mechanics, It wasn't necessarily this open world, Versus action adventures kind of gives you more of that. Like Sandbox falls into it whenever you got, like you said, Spider-Man, Arkham City, all these different big things. So I guess that's how we were looking at it.
Sure. Okay. So I guess with that being said, I think considering that most of my favorite games in the past like 4 or 5 years have been like JRPGs, I guess I would have to say that RPGs are I probably prefer RPGs more over action adventure. Because you can still get really interesting stories. You can still get really interesting characters with those RPGs. You know, like whether it be like Final Fantasy VII Remake or like the Persona games. There's really interesting characters. I mean, I like would Final Fantasy be considered an RPG?
Yeah.
Considering that, like, I mean,
Yeah.
more often than not, though, like the main character isn't like that quote unquote deadpan character.
I would have brought that up since Final Fantasy 8, 7, even kind of because Cloud never talked. You know, you could technically make that argument since he never actually had a line of dialogue in it. That's still you making decisions, and there were several little decisions out there that, you know, like who you're going to get with whenever you went to the festival city. Different little choices you can make with your characters. Who would win the cutest girl contest? Could be you. Could be you.
Yeah.
And with things like that, where versus Final Fantasy VIII with Squall, where it's quite literally the most edgelord of emo kids with a gun sword. You know, like I understand, but the mechanic of it was still, you got a team of about 3 to 4 people. You've got different classes. You're leveling up. There's some type of attribute system, and you combo off each other. And again, while you can explore the map to a degree, I mean, that was really prevalent in the Final Fantasy games. It's all kind of about the action. Like, you're not just exploring to explore. You generally are going because you got to go find, like Final Fantasy 1, you got to go find the Throne of Bahamut. You know, you got to Final Fantasy 7, you're trying to get to the Knights of the Round, so you got to breed chocobos to be able to run over water and mountains. You know, like you have a reason and a purpose. It's not necessarily just, hey, I want to fly around. I want to actually look at the scenery, see the awesome mecha dinosaurs mating. Kind of weird, but yeah, you know.
And it also helps that they even list FF7 as JRPG. So.
So I mean, it is. I mean, Final Fantasy is the RPG's like starter for most people to know what an RPG would be. It's what starts the whole argument of what makes it what, because like you said, it's all bleeding together nowadays.
I think as time goes by, people are just smashing a lot of the genres together, and honestly, it's working. You know, like you brought up Spider-Man. That has a lot of RPG traits to it, and I can see people saying, "Yeah, that's an RPG," but like Isaac was saying, the foundation, it's still action adventure.
Yeah, because because like Jake was like with Spider-Man, right? Even Spider-Man 2 on the GameCube had, like, you know, you could get upgrades, you could collect items and stuff, so on and so forth. But for me personally, and I don't mean Jacob think the same way, because this is how we thought when we were kids. So, you know, forgive us if we're completely out of here. But the one way me and Jacob always clarified what an RPG was, can I just turn it off whenever I want, or do I gotta find a save point? That's how me and Jacob always thought about it, because action adventure, I can always push start, save, or, you know, or it'll mark my little spot, like it already saved for you. You can turn it off and quit. Whereas Final Fantasy or Tales of Symphonia, I'm just like, I'm so tired, but I can't just turn it. I gotta find a save point.
Yeah, so, and that's the way it is, and like Persona 5. Like
exactly,
you got, or like when you're in a dungeon, when you're in a palace or a dungeon or whatever it's called in whatever Persona game that you're playing, like you've got to find a save spot.
Yeah,
you can't just do it inside the action.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, there are games, right, like like RE4, Silent Hill 2, where you got to get to these certain areas. But the thing is, when it comes to RJRPGs, it's that those save points are distant from each other, whereas RE4 and other action adventure that may have those aspects to it, they're literally there, like, but then I walk's distance, right? Like, it's like, you could be tired, like, I know the save point's right around the corner, and it's always right around the corner. Whereas JRPGs, you know, as soon as you start the dungeon, you're investing hours.
Yeah, so I want to say sorry on that. And Alice, my wife, might hate me for this when she listens to this, because you bring up having to save and having to find a save point, and one of my favorite all-time franchises, Dot Hack, right? And when I was playing the third installment of the GU series for the PlayStation 2 back in college, this was like years ago, me and my wife were dating, and I don't know what started the argument, but an argument happened while I was in the midst of playing. And so I was in this final dungeon. Like this was like a bonus thing. Like I already beat the game, but this was like bonus material. And I went to a dungeon that had 100 levels. And every 25 levels there was a safe spot. And so we started the argument after I beat level 51. So I'm like, I'm not going to find a save until later on. I'm like, and we weren't like full flesh arguing yet. So I'm like, I can probably play and talk. So that's what I would do. I'll play and talk, but she didn't appreciate that. And so now I'm at like,
It's a bold move, Cotton. I don't think it plays out that well. Like
it did not work out well. And then I'm at the 74th floor, right? So I'm like, all right, 75 should be a safe spot. I go in and there's no safe spot. I'm like, what? And so I have to make a hard decision. Do I just quit an hour and a half of gameplay that I grinded? Like this is like rinse and repeat for every dungeon. They got tiresome after a while. To, talk to my wife. And for some reason, it wouldn't let me pause. This was PlayStation 2. The remake, you can save a lot earlier on. It's a lot simpler. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep going because there might be a next save. And I kept going. And finally, let's just say I got to the ending, but she was already so mad I had to put the TV down to like barely audible so I could hear what's going on. Because she was just like so pissed at me that she kind of like she waited enough to where she fell asleep for me to finish. And I didn't want to wake her. And right when I got to the end, she woke up and she's like, "Are you still playing this game?" I'm just like, "I can't hear what's going on. I grinded like 3 hours." And if like the cutscene finished and I didn't know half the thing that was said, I'm just like, I'm so mad right now.
the moral of the story here is they lived happily ever after.
They did, but
Games are temporary, but love is forever. So just see that down the line.
But getting back onto topic, Jacob, what would you choose? Since you had such a lovely story.
So going with that, because I was very passionate about my RPGs back in the day. I think this goes back to like our first series of this, where I was like so heavily into fighters and became more into shooters. I would say back in the day, I was heavily into RPGs. As I've grown, I feel like I appreciate action adventures more because of I can just pause it and save it. Sure. It's easier to just pick up, put down. I will say, as far as gameplay, I've enjoyed more action adventures. I got Spider-Man up there because that's like by far one of my favorite games of all time.
Oh, dude, so good. So good.
Amazing. I got Tales of Mana up there because Isaac highly recommended that game. Trials of Mana. Isaac highly recommended the game. And though it is a good game, it's not sucking me in. Like, I would go to work and want to come home and play Spider-Man. I don't have the same with that game. And honestly, now I haven't played an RPG game I haven't seen an RPG game that's really like sucked me in. Like when I see.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
When I see action adventure games, I'm more hyped over them than I am RPGs. So I know, like for me, if it was in the past, I would have picked RPGs because even playing the remake of Dot Hack, which is my favorite franchise, I wasn't as invested as I was when I was younger.
I will say that's due to it being GU in the original Dot Hack. I feel like if it was original Dot Hack, it would be completely opposite.
Maybe, and it could be that I haven't found an RPG that has like really inspired me to play it in a long time. Because even when I was playing the second Ni no Kuni, I really loved the first one. I was really sucked into the first one. The second one, though it was good, I wasn't sucked into.
So I would say try Tales of Arise. It's got a lot of like that action adventure style gameplay, but it is still considered a JRPG.
And I have it downloaded, and I do want to try it after I finish Trials because I did hear good things about it.
How'd you have? Wait, you have Trials of Arise? I mean, Tales of Arise.
Yeah, it's free on Game Pass.
Yes, sir.
It is.
Sucks to be on PC, doesn't it?
No, it's on PC.
Sit it down, bro.
I think it is.
I mean, it's not gonna be free. So.
I mean, at the same time, enjoy your 30 FPS and shitty connections.
It's pretty nice.
I will.
Is what it is.
What? Okay, no. Okay,
only need 10 FPS for Fortnite, baby.
I would much prefer a stable 30 frames per second than a janky 60.
I've never had a janky 60. Then again, anyways, we're not comparing GPUs here, right?
So I would say right now, as it stands, until I find a good RPG, I'm going action adventure.
Okay, I respect it. All right, Juicy J, you're up, baby. What you got for me?
Well,
all right, moving on.
So there we go.
Go ahead.
No. So I mean, I'm on. I play on both. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII, one of my favorite RPGs of all time. But then action adventure, Brave Fetch Musashi back in the day, all the way up into what we're doing nowadays with the ESO that I've been doing. Technically, constant MMO, but everything you do in it is action adventure, bro. You can go anywhere. I don't even have to play with people. This is literally just an immersive, historic game, right? I'm playing more of the action adventures nowadays. I just got into hour 2 of the 5-hour cinematic intro that is Final Fantasy 13.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I mean, it is beautiful. I'm seeing the reasons why people would have hated it. I don't mind that. It's actually really great. It's reminding me of the nostalgia of the RPGs, but I did kind of move back over to ESO. It's, I'm about to start Sekiro. I want to, jump onto these things. And like Jacob said, if you would have hit me back in the day, I knew the clear-cut answer. But like nowadays, I find myself more playing the Elder Scrolls game, learning more about the lore, really doing a lot of lore hunting, playing Monster Hunter. I mean, its own way. What does that fall into? It's Iceborne. It's more the open world, so I think it would be an action adventure. So I'm gonna have to go with frickin' RPGs because obviously I'm not an idiot. So none of this would even be without the RPGs of the beginnings. Because back in the day, action adventure was very, very linear. This open world stuff wasn't even a big deal until GTA started taking off, and suddenly everybody wanted a sandbox. Yeah,
GTA and I think Ubisoft added to that.
Fair, but my thing is what we would have played back in the day. It's very, very linear, and not just in your world building, but also in the sense of leveling up and character development and stuff. Play the original Darksiders, and you literally are just going to get these same power ups no matter what. As soon as you start leveling, it's the same thing. You're just trying to rebuild war. You're not trying to build your own customized war. You're trying to build the Alpha Apex war. Take into the Deadpool series when it first came out. It was a great a game for Xbox 360. I loved playing it. But I mean, literally every level, you just got the next thing Deadpool could have. Hey, now you can teleport. It's oh, cool. And versus what I always saw with RPGs is you can expand. You could take your sword fighter main character and make him a magician. I could do that with Cloud. I could do that with Squall. I could do that with anybody. You can be that anything. There's usually an immersive level up system, and because that got kind of incorporated into action adventure, it became a harder choice. But then I have to think about where did this come from? We wouldn't even have this without it, Plus, I really like RPGs, I find myself really digging on Final Fantasy 13. And despite seeing where there are some shortcomings, it's still great. It's still fun. And even if you complained about it, you still played it and most likely beat it. I haven't really heard of too many people that walked away from the 5-hour cinematic tutorial. And, even though they didn't
Yeah.
like it. I mean, Isaac, you don't count because you'll walk away from like the best game of all time simply because you didn't like how a cat meowed and it just kind of turned you off, and suddenly you saw all
That's
the
not
flaws
true.
of the
That's
game
not
and you
true. And
walked
Jacob,
away.
tell me the real reason why I'll drop a game.
You get bored of it.
Yeah.
And
But you get bored of things that like really quickly that you've only like scratched the surface of too.
If the storytelling is too long, he gets bored of it.
Okay? Give me an example of a game that you think.
Nino Kuni, the first one.
I got bored of Nino Kuni.
Ouch! Oh,
Yeah, I got bored of Nino
It's a
Kuni.
slow start. It's a slow
now
start.
Jacob's only half right. So I'm a bored gamer even playing my favorite game. I play 5 games at once because I just can't stick with one because I get bored of it. Like I'm playing, like right now I'm playing
Where's the dedication?
I'm playing The Witcher.
there's no commitment, dude. No commitment.
Never. I've never had commitment when it comes to video games.
It's only an issue if you commit to begin with. I mean,
Yeah, like I'm playing, like right now I'm playing Witcher 3, Persona 4, FF10, Hollow Knight, and
Hollow Knight. I love Hollow Knight, bro.
Huh?
These are all games that you have to invest like time.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And the season jumps between all of them.
Oh, and I'm playing Pokemon Arceus. And yes, you are right. No, you are right. You invest a lot of time, but
oh my god!
If
each
anyone
game is hundreds of hours.
Pokemon Breath of the Wilds, man, really? Like,
no. Here's the thing, right? Just before I know I'm getting a lot of topic. Yes, it's a lot of time, but it's not like I play one for 30 minutes and I cut it, right? I'll play one for a solid week and just go hard, and then I'm like, all right, I put my time in. On to the next one. Because my thing is, I know I like a game when I stop playing it and I start to miss it. If I'm
rare, this guy got a whole catalog of games he has not finished playing
because I don't miss it. That's proving my point. If I don't miss it and I'm just like, it didn't catch my attention.
So back on the topic of like RPGs and action adventure, dude. You gotta like I'd like to see how you react to the 10 to 15 hour tutorial intro of Persona 5.
Yeah. You literally spend half a day.
No, but the thing is,
you literally spend half a day being a man. And
the thing is, like, it's okay if it could be like a tutorial, but if it's like interesting, then fine. But my issue with Kingdom Hearts 3 was, they toss you into the action, but those cutscenes, dude, were so long to where I would take a nap and wake up and there's still a cutscene. Like, I legit took a nap. Like, I fell asleep, woke up, and
I don't remember that in Kingdom Hearts 3.
I think you might be talking Kingdom Hearts 2.
No,
Kingdom Hearts 2 is really
3.
bad about
no,
that.
I'm talking Kingdom Hearts 3. Those cutscenes were freaking long. You must have just really loved it, and it went like you were like, "There's not enough cutscene." But for me, I'm like, "All right, Kairi, Riku, you're sitting on a beach. Da 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 da. Can we get going here?" Like, jeez.
Okay, so who were we on? Who was?
We're on now. Since we're here, baby, you got us. It's 2-1. What are you looking at in the catalog of Misfit games?
Real quick,
what do you
real quick. I want to see if Jacob knows me with him being my brother. Now, Jacob, what do you think I'm gonna pick?
RPGs.
Picking RPGs, okay. So, growing up, I played action adventure, right? I played games that were considered bad and still enjoyed them. Why? Because I was poor and I'll go afford that one game.
Give me an example. I want to know what some of these bad games are. I'll be the judge if it's a bad game.
Look. To me, they're not bad. I feel like they're underappreciated, but I can see why they are bad after being older. But I still love them because, like I said, I was poor. I'm about to tell you that, but I'm saying this for perspective. So right off the bat, one I think on top of my head was Spyro the Legend of the Fireflies.
Come on.
I've never played
Bad?
that one.
No, people hate it.
Bad?
Apparently that's the worst Spyro game. I'm like, dude, but you have elemental fire breath. I mean, yeah, fire, electricity, ice. Like, I loved it, right? Granted, I love Spyro, and that's all I had access to, and I bought it, and I loved it, but people hate it. So now I'm like, all right, Geist. Story's a little underdeveloped. I still love Geist, though. I played all.
Had nice Easter eggs in that.
Huh?
There was a nice Easter egg in that game.
The Samus helmet.
Yeah,
it was pretty dope. There was actually a woman's vagina in there because they forgot to take it out because they were using for the models they were using pornography to get like stuff, and they forgot to take out the gooch. But that's neither here nor there.
That was a curve I was not expecting.
Well, turn this PG talk into a PG-13 real quick. Sorry, kids. Go home, go to bed. Like,
we're gonna have a bunch of little
DLC
kids
after hours. Like,
guys back up.
Right? But
believe that.
And then another one, Wolverine's Origin or Revenge. I can't remember. The Wolverine game we had on GameCube. Apparently that's not considered good, but I thought it was phenomenal. So games like games like that. But anyways, that's all I grew up playing for the most part, right? And like the Lord of the Rings games, I bought TMNT. I bought like a lot.
Twin Towers, baby.
When it came to me and Jacob buying video games, I bought shooting and action adventure. Jacob bought RPG and fighters, right? So I grew up with a mix, but I played my games, he played his. Especially with Sonic Adventure Battle 2, that's one of my favorite games. That being said, even back then, so my taste has not changed. Even back then, when it came to games that I had the most memory with, like the things that caught me, that grabbed me, yes, those games I played hours and hours, and I was able to word every sentence in the game. But I think it's because of Jacob being so selfish and greedy that made
a W's a W. Say it, baby. Here, let me hear those words.
That he made RPGs a delicacy for me because there were few and far between he will let me play them because he knew I potentially could get further ahead, and I was forbidden. Granted. He's the same way. He's the same way, by the way.
I'm not denying it. We were petty towards each other.
You started it.
If he was ahead of something, he would threaten to spoil it. And so, since I had the power to take my game to go off to college
and lose the memory card,
how dare you better your life and deprive him of your spoils?
So, anyways, even and up until now,
I can't confirm they're both the same. You beat them a couple times in Smash, and suddenly no one picks up the sticks. I don't know what's going on. So.
No, but that means like for me, it's RPGs all the way, not even close. For this reason, action adventure is even now it's fun, it's amazing. But for me, it's a brain dead genre that I could turn on, play, and cut off. Whereas with RPGs, I'm immersed into that world. Like I know people are probably be like, how dare you call Spider-Man, Horizon Zero Dawn, and all this brain dead? Look, if you like it, you like it. I'm sure they're great games, but I'm talking in the sense of those are games I will. For me, it's like television. I'll just turn on the TV and I have some background noise. For me, whereas RPG is like going to the cinema and watching a movie that I've been waiting for it to come out.
Mm-hmm. So I will say, I do agree with your point on that to an extent. I wouldn't call them brain dead, but I would say that action adventures, which is why I picked it, is the fact that like nowadays it's easier for me just to pick up and put down.
Yeah, I mean it's a good time. I love the Batman series. Yeah. I love Spider-Man. Like there's nothing wrong with them. I love them. But
I guess my flaw. And like I say, it could just be that I haven't found a good RPG, a good new one. is that it feels at some points repetitive.
Yeah.
And I'm grinding the same dungeon or the same enemy over and over and over.
Yeah, but here's another reason why I'm picking RPGs. Because that third game right behind you, Jacob, what is that? So you're right on top of Yoshi.
Baron Kados?
There we go. Now
I was wondering when y'all are going to bring that up. I've heard it so much.
So
from y'all.
here's the thing with RPGs compared to action adventure. You played one, for the most part, you played them all. RPGs have the ability to switch up game mechanics and keep things fresh.
Good RPG.
No, good RPGs. But I'm saying, like, you have your your classic Final Fantasy turn-based. You have your Fire Emblem, where strategy, kind of like a chessboard, whatever. You have
that is a tactics game. That does not count here.
Fine, you don't want to count that. That's fine. But even so, Baton Kato's a card-based game that's an RPG. It's kind of like, yo, what?
Okay.
So I feel like you could get creative with it. In action adventure, you can get creative to it to an extent, but like for instance, Spider-Man's great, but the fighting mechanics and all that are similar to the Batman series.
They are, but
but the Batman mechanics are similar to that of. I hate it when people compare Spider-Man to Batman. It frustrates me because Batman Arkham Asylum, Arkham Asylum, right? That was the first one.
Yeah,
it came out after, like, one could argue that the game mechanics for Arkham Asylum came from Assassin's Creed. Like for sure.
It's an easier Assassin's Creed. It's an easier Assassin's Creed.
Yeah. I mean, people can keep taking that back. Like, it came from Way of the Samurai. It came from the whole mechanic of fighting multiple enemies, but all of them coming at you 1 to 2 at a time. Is a tale as old as time, and comboing off it.
I would argue that the combat in Spider-Man 2018 is a hell of a lot more immersive than the combat in a Batman game.
Well, I would hope. Sorry. It's a newer game, so I would hope so.
The Batman, it's dodge punch.
It's so fun.
Where in Spider-Man, it's like you have all these gadgets, you have all these different ways of like taking down your enemies. That it always does feel like it feels good all the time. Whereas for me, the Arkham games kind of got boring.
I'm sorry, Batman's only a human. Doesn't have Spidey sense and can lift up a tower.
The same human that fought gods and sat in the chair of Mobius. Okay, but anyway, keep going.
I will say there is more to just Batman, Spider-Man. Like the Devil May Cry games.
Yeah, those are good. Legit. Yeah,
and those are
Bayonetta was fun.
And those don't play the same as like Batman and Spider-Man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, and then like you have Lara Croft and Nathan Drake with Thirst John. Like, you have different ways of doing it. Yeah. But for me, when it comes to RPGs, I just feel the story grabs me more because Uncharted, I like Uncharted, but it was kind of like a mini series, which I did appreciate because it took me like 4 hours tops to beat the games. Like, they're pretty simple, straightforward. But when I beat them, I didn't get that like, I beat it.
Yeah, I've never felt the same way about Uncharted. I never liked, I liked Uncharted 1 and 2 just fine. They were fun. Everyone praised Uncharted 2 as being like one of the best games ever made at the time of its release. And I was like, really? Like, it just feels like another action adventure shooter to me. And then I played Uncharted 3 and I'm like, okay, this is the same stuff from like the previous game.
Back to PG. Thank you.
And I'm like, this is dumb. And on top of that, Nathan Drake is a horrible protagonist, in my opinion. He's terrible. Like, he's an arrogant prick. I can't get behind. Like, it's like, okay, so I'm playing as an arrogant prick in a game where like the game mechanics are kind of like. If you want to talk about a game with repetitive game mechanics,
for sure that
you look at Uncharted, and like people who argue otherwise, I'm sorry, but like, that's like you're dumb. Like, hopefully, I'm not insulting anybody here by saying
it don't matter. No, but I've had friends that were like, "Yo, you need to play Uncharted. The story is legit." and I'm like, all right, like if I felt like as soon as I hit the start button, I'm already on chapter 6. like that's how short those things are. Like the story, it doesn't pull you in, right? And the thing is, what you were saying about Persona 5, where like I hope you like a 10-hour tutorial and this and that.
Dude, that story will pull you in.
No, but I'm saying if within that 10 hours, I feel like okay, that's kind of cool. All right, that's kind of tight. Because 5 hours, like 10 hours in into Uncharted, I already beat the game. Like it's like bang bang.
If at the end of the 10-hour tutorial Persona 5, if your reaction isn't whoa, but crap, we got school tomorrow, so we got to get back. I got to go back to bed. If you aren't that immersed into it, I don't think you should play it. There's just so much about Persona I loved, but that was one of the aspects of I do want to focus on this. Is really cool, but I also don't want to mess it up either. Who am I going to admit? Like, there's just Atlas did amazing.
And I got an idea of playing Persona 4, right? I kind of have an idea of what to look forward to. So I get it, and even then, because like there are like at first when I was playing, I was like, it's so like I want to go to the other world, but I also got to get ready for bed because I got to do this.
Yeah.
Like it's time management, but for me, it's not
homework.
But for me, it's not tedious. Like one mechanic I always found tedious, and I know people love it. And I might get a lot off topic here. I mean, we're kind of already did, but one game mechanic that I always found tedious was Majora's Mask the time stuff, because I would hate when I'm in a dungeon and I get stuck and I'm literally about to run out of time and I gotta start all over. Like that was just like, ugh. Now I was a kid playing it, so I'm sure now it's not as bad. I'm sure, but that was one mechanic I hated.
And by the way, we're technically not off topic because we're talking about our favorite action adventure and JRPGs.
Yeah.
So a couple of points. One point I wanted to say, and it's back on the topic of Uncharted, and I'm going to say something pretty controversial here. All of Assassin's Creed 3 was better than Uncharted 1 through 3, in my opinion.
And
Assassin's Creed 3 is considered to be one of like the more controversial, like debated whether it's good or bad entries. I personally really liked Assassin's Creed 3. And in my opinion, there were more compelling and interesting characters in Assassin's Creed 3 than any character in Uncharted. And then we were talking, and then there was another point that I wanted to make.
With the Uncharted, I do want to say this because Uncharted is like PlayStation's like baby, right?
Naughty Dog is their baby. That's their heavy hitter.
It's a boobless Tomb Raider. Yes, I'll call it out. That's all it is.
Either way, that's like their game for the PlayStation, and I feel while that game was coming out, there's another game that came out that didn't get as much treatment as it should have. And I felt it was a better, more compelling game than Uncharted. And they should have spent more time focused on this game. And that's Infamous.
Yes.
Oh, so yeah, Infamous Second Son. They dropped it like a bad habit, bro. That game came out and they're like...
than Uncharted.
Yeah, because
Infamous was their like response to like Crackdown and stuff, and how good that was doing. It's like, that whole kind of open world in the cities, kind of powering yourself up to become this god that could. Yeah, it was a great series, and that's how I always saw it. Is like the answer to like the Crackdown series of the Xbox 360, and I am absolutely insulted that didn't keep going because that story. Great.
Yeah, and here's I played a little bit of it, but honestly, I stopped playing it for one other game, and people are gonna be like, "Are you serious?" And I'll be like, "Yes, because it's adorable and it's fun." Jacob, do you know what game I'm talking about?
No, because Infamous is great. Infamous was amazing. That's one of the reasons I picked action over RPG.
Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet.
Little Big Planet. Yep. I will legit tell Jacob, "Hey, Jacob, bring your PS3, bro. I want to play Little Big Planet." And Jacob's like, "I don't like it. I want to play it."
I never said I didn't like. I love that game.
I remember
I
you.
was out on record. Jacob said he didn't like it back in the day. Jacob hates cute things.
He does. But I love Little Big Planet, dude, and I wish that came back.
So
The third one did so bad. I feel like it's sad.
Just remake the first one. That's fine.
Isaac, when you get to it, pick Persona 5 Royal over Vanilla.
Oh yeah, I know.
Because you can get the vanilla experience within Royal, but Royal is a lot better than Vanilla.
Yeah, no, I've heard it's very
You'll have an existential crisis when playing it, like you will. I had an existential crisis at the end of Persona 5 Royal, over like more so than I did when playing Vanilla. I felt very dead inside at the end of it, and I was like, "Oh my god, what did I just do?" It was like it was great.
Yeah.
But just to wrap up on why, just another thing I want to say, just to wrap up on why I prefer RPGs is not only is the story amazing, and I feel like RPGs have the best music, the most memorable music.
That's debatable.
That's not debatable. Continue.
Dude,
that's
no,
debatable.
I don't. Hey, you know what? Hey, to each their own, Jacob. You're wrong, but to each their own.
I'm not saying RPGs don't have great music. They do. But some action adventure games also got good music.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's like
what's iconic though? Name an iconic one that we should all know.
The Last of Us.
That game sucks.
No, but the song. Because right now I could say Apex
of
the world.
Hold on, real quick. Hold on, Jacob, hold on. You see Brent's reaction when I said that? He doesn't know. He doesn't know about our opinion, does he?
Oh, on The Last of Us?
The most overrated, boring game of all time?
Yeah. I hate that game.
Well, kids, I've had fun. I'm gonna dip out. Like
my thing is, I can't even name a good RPG song, but I know there's been good action adventure games. Honestly, one that comes to mind.
FF13 automatically has great music.
There's two soundtracks. There's two game soundtracks that are action adventure that come to mind. Devil May Cry 3 and Metal Gear Rising.
Revengeance.
Revengeance.
So, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is awesome, but a lot of people don't know the songs by heart unless they played the games.
Mm-hmm.
However, I could say Apocalyptus Noctis, and most of everyone's heard that because of either compilations or just seeing.
Shout out to our past podcast where we discussed best gaming music. Go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, so my thing is One Winged Angel, Final Fantasy VII, Ultimisia's theme, Vithos, Luthos, Venus, Vitose. Like these are songs from the RPG series that will drive into the hearts of men and women alike.
Dude,
you may not know them, but like most gamers, when you hear just hearing the start of the songs, you know exactly where it's from. I just
want to say one thing to prove a point. I just want to say one thing to prove a point. You see orchestras for RPG music. You don't see any for action adventure games. You don't see
because they're not orchestras.
That's not true. That's not true.
Not as much.
The Tokyo Philharmonic actually runs a lot of the Capcom music. Tokyo Philharmonic does the Monster theme and all the themes for the monsters and stuff, and it is a huge ordeal.
Hey, I ignore it. It doesn't exist.
That's fair.
Fake news. No, that's
fair.
No, and then another thing is the fact that what also just pulled me away. It's one of my favorite all-time games, and my number one is Mega Man X. Literally right behind it is Tales of Symphonia.
The Tales series in general is an amazing series.
I prefer Tales over FF. Granted, there's more better FF games than there are Tale games. Does that make sense? Like I understand FF is better as a whole, but as a franchise because Tales of Vesperia sucks. I don't care that people say it's amazing and this and that. It is not the best Tales game. It sucked.
I'm not gonna say it's the best, but it was good.
Dude, Tales, is that the one? Is that the one where the guy has like his spirit buddies?
No.
Tales of Vesperia.
Is
Yeah.
that Berseria?
He has long purple hair.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, look. Here's my thing with that game. Here's my thing with that game, bro. Here's my thing with that game. I felt like I was clocking in and taking a lunch. It felt like a job playing that game. Like literally, I was sucked in for the first 2 to 3 hours, and then after that, I was kind of like, "This sucks." And look, if people like it, that's fine. For me, for Tales of Symphonia, what I liked about it was it gave you a reason to backtrack to certain areas. This game gave me no incentive to do that, so I missed out. Like, it's my fault, right? I should have just willy-nilly went all the way back and see what side quests there are. But what I like about Tales of Symphonia was like, hey, something's going on over here. By the way, there's like 10 people here that have side quests for you. You're like, oh, awesome. Whereas I'm literally at the end of the game, and I'm like, let's just for shits and giggles, let me just go over here and buy something, right? And there's side quests there, and they're like, yo, there's a dog that has he's a rival with my dog, and they gotta see who could piss the most on the land. And I'm just like, really? That's a side mission.
I've literally fought against what would have been anti-God, but now I'm here watching this dog pee on the land.
Literally.
You know, like,
and the only good thing about it is you literally get to fight God, the name is at the tip of my tongue. What's Lloyd's dad's name?
I don't remember. I haven't played that game in years, bro.
It's
decades.
Well, Juicy, do you know Lloyd's dad's name?
I don't think he's ever played Tales of Symphonia.
No, never played Tales of Symphonia.
I know.
Get to your point.
No, I'm saying, no. What I'm saying is that was the highlight. Was the fact that you get to Kratos. You fought his dad. Like that was like a little mystery, like a hitting boss, and you're like, yay, I fought him. You literally had to bring back a character from Symphonia just to make this game good. And people are like, oh, the storytelling, the characters. Like, these characters suck. There's nothing interesting about these guys.
Okay, we're not here to bash a game. We're here to pick RPG.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying, bro. I'm just saying that game is overrated, and I hate it.
For 3 weeks, he's missed his fans. He's missed his brothers in arms, and you are going to listen to him, Jacob. Go listen to him.
I've heard this so many times. I'm tired of hearing it.
I just hate it.
It's not recorded, so I don't know, man.
I hate it. I just hate that game so much.
We got 3 RPGs, and I'm the only action adventure game.
That's okay. So say it right. 3 for RPGs and 1 for the wrong opinion.
Exactly.
Which means RPGs win, baby.
Yeah.
So, I mean, action adventure is great. This wasn't an easy choice by any means.
No,
it's really not.
And like, I guess, like for me, like to kind of like balance it out a little bit. I'm like, for me, it's like 51% RPGs. Like it's like that's how close it is.
Yeah.
Like it's like because one of my favorite games of all time is you know, I guess you could say several of my favorite games of all time would be considered action adventure. You got Resident Evil 4 and you got Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3. Like, don't argue with me. Mass Effect 3 is a great game up until the last hour.
I never played it. I was agreeing with you with RE4. I never played Mass Effect.
But like Resident Evil 4 is an amazing game. It's one of the best, in my opinion. It's still one of the best games ever made. It still holds up. And
it's not better than 6.
Dude, 6 is great in its own way. Okay,
I didn't expect that reaction. I thought I was gonna trigger him there.
No. 6 is great in its own way. It's like it's got a very special sort of what's the right word? It's got a special charm to it. I can understand why people don't like it, but like there is a charm to Resident Evil 6. I don't think a lot of people.
No, you have to play co-op. Co-op is it's a sweet spot. Me and Jacob played co-op and the main reason me and Jacob really love it is because it showed how useful Chris is.
Yes, I was about to say that 6 was the nail on the coffin to prove that if you're going to partner up with Chris, you're going to die.
This is where you toss the characters you never wanted to be. You know,
like I'm assuming Sheila's dead. I've never seen her. She did 5, and apparently they survived it. But I think she's dead now.
Off screen, he pushed her in a river.
He's like, I got a quota to meet.
The best part about Resident Evil 6 is Jake and Sherry's campaign. They are the best characters in that entire game. And if they had made the game all about Jake and Sherry, I could. Dude, shut up! They had the best chemistry. They had the best.
I'm just saying that if I was in a deadly apocalyptic setting, this is what I'd aspire to be.
Yeah, you know? No, for me, I think even though I'm a big Leon fan, I think me and Jacob had the most fun playing with Chris because we were just like, how is Chris gonna get this guy killed?
It was jokes.
But yeah. So like, you know, since I kind of deterred it, I'll bring it back. But like right now, most of the games that I've played this year have been action adventure, and they've all been really good. So like, you know, Horizon Forbidden West. I am, although I have my own issues with Elden Ring, like I'm enjoying Elden Ring, and I guess you could say that that's an action adventure game. I guess it borderlines. It's like that 50-50 between action adventure and JRPG.
Yeah.
And then of course, like I'm going to be playing Ghostwire, and I'm going to be playing. What was the other one that I bought? I bought another one. I bought 3 games, and I forgot what one of them was. Oh, Tiny Tina. Tiny Tina's
Adventures.
You know, but even that even teeters on RPG, right? Like it's like seriously an action adventure RPG.
It's supposed to be, and I mean it's a giant D&D game and weird post-apocalyptic Borderlands setting. It's an RPG. So, I mean, you just brought up Elden Ring, so I do want to kind of cut in here. Isaac had said earlier, there's a lot more customization with RPG over action adventure, and I do have to agree with that. Like, you know, you can change up things, because when it came to, like, the Batman series and the Spider-Man series, the only other change they could have done to the combat is what they did to Demon's Souls originally. Take away the constraints of, hey, one enemy attacks up to 3 attack at a time while you're grouped, and instead have everybody move kind of autonomously and on their own, and suddenly it's like the hardest game ever. It was one flaw in a game that became this amazing Soulsborne experience. That's not the most you can do with. Yeah. I mean, but that's what makes it hard, is that they didn't put enemy fight constraints on these enemies. Like literally, if I run into a group of 13 enemies, each one of these enemies get an independent action, and I can be hit by every independent action. There's no invincibility frames. There's no 3 of them will come at me at once while the other one's kind of staring around like, whoa. No, everybody will swing, everybody will connect, and my health will go whoop. Yeah, and that was the most customization you could do to the fighting or to the action adventure genre, which became its known genre up to its own MMO. So I did agree with Isaac on that one. It's like, yeah, with RPG, you can switch it up to the battle arena, do the Phantasy Star where you're timed, Artanelico where you have to hit the beats of the like if you can hit the beats of the attacks matching with the music, you actually take like no damage versus more damage if you could do it on your like. There's just so much to do with that, but that was the side I want to talk about.
I used to love the slots in FF7 and FF10, like the random slots to get the random, or in Crisis Core, it was cool. You get the slots and you get like a special, like a unique ability. Oh, that was so.
Oh, no! So Crisis Core would be up there too, with like switching up a genre to where you're in this arena type fighting. And that's all. I mean, as RPG fans from Final Fantasy back in the day, that's all you ever wanted. And when they came to Kingdom Hearts, that was the biggest like punch to your gut, because like we've been wanting this on Final Fantasy for a long time. It took Mickey F and Mouse to come in here and give us a battle
that
arena
Disney paycheck, baby. I mean,
yeah, and then right after that, what do? They released Final Fantasy 12, which is straight up turn-based fighting, but you get to run around and string to each other. Like if a wolf like does this little red screens and attack you, but then your buddies go to attack him, they won't hit him until he hits you. And no matter how much you run around the plains, I hated it.
And I will say FF15 because now I guess now you could say RPGs are dipping their toes in the action adventure just for the fact because I see RPGs similar to fighting games, right? So and let me explain. in the sense of fighting games in the past, you had to practice, learn combos. You had to learn matchups and this and that.
Mhm.
Whereas now most fighting games have auto combos because they're trying to make it more accessible to everyone, right? To get the sales up because everyone knows fighting games outside of the FGC, it doesn't have really they don't sell that much compared to like FPS and stuff like that. And I feel like in a way, I know RPGs are very popular. I'm not trying to say they're like the equivalent to that, but I'll say you will see more sales for action adventure than RPGs. So nowadays you're seeing RPGs like for instance with FF15, where they're like, yo, let's make it more action adventure, not turn based. That way it's more immersive for other people who never played, and they can just hit X and triangle the whole time and bada bing, bada boom. And that's
I
why
like Final Fantasy 15.
No, I liked it too. It took me 3 tries to get into it, but once I got into it, it was amazing. And what kind of ruined RPGs for me at a young age, in the sense of I always wanted that kind of game, is Tales of Symphonia, because Tales of Symphonia was the first RPG I played that was not turn-based, and the more times you use a certain special ability, it upgrades. You can do like combos. It was like action. And when I went to FF13, for instance, I'm just sitting there doing like abilities, and granted, it had its own charm, and I grew to like it. But for me as an RPG fan, I'm kind of liking the direction they're going now, where it's more not like, yeah. Again, and I will say this with Persona, I thought that was gonna bother me, the turn-based, but that turn-based mechanic, can we just like
It's
that?
so good.
It's so fluid. Like it doesn't feel like a task, and like in Final Fantasy, to make like all these strategic strategies. I mean, you still got to strategize, right? But it's fun.
Yeah, and you know, you're gonna like Persona 5. You're gonna like so for me, how I always characterize it is I prefer the story I prefer the story in Persona 4 Golden better than Persona 5, but the gameplay in Persona 5 is so clean and crisp that like it trumps the gameplay in Persona 4. But I mean that naturally comes with, you know, games being separated by like 10 years.
Yeah. So real quick, Zombie Killer says he prefers single games and some action adventure games. So I guess if we have another action adventure, so Jacob's not alone.
Nice.
There you go.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
3-2, baby.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like we got our winner though for this evening. So the next one then is what it's going to be.
We'll let some of the viewers decide. I mean, Jacob, you can post a TikTok, see what people say, and then we can wait and, you know, post a post. I'm gonna post a post, but make a post on Instagram. There we go. There's so many posts in that sentence right there. But yeah, no. So let's go and wrap it up. You know, so Jacob was wrong. We all agree on this because the numbers show it.
Okay, so what is it? It's a Thursday. Okay, yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, so you know, whatever. But all right, so let's go. You want to close it off? So Brent, or Mr. Whip, as you like to be called. Oh, I don't know. No, you like to be called Lord Sexy. I know it.
I was going to comment on that hair. I was like, look at that, man, so regal, so full, but I don't want to like break character.
I need to get
like, I do like
myself just watching on him, like, he laying there in bed. I'm like, what that snack, like.
So Zombie Killer says, I do like Back for Blood. I need to play more. Back for Blood was good.
I need to finish that.
We never got around to it. I'm just a sucker for zombie games. I mean, dude, Dead Island is a great action adventure game.
Beautiful, yes.
I watched a video the other day, not the other way, like a couple weeks ago. This guy on his YouTube channel, he was going back and getting some of the hardest trophies or I guess achievements in video game history, and he was just trying to go back, and he got, I guess you could say, he got the equivalent to like the platinum trophy in the original not Dead Island, but what was it, Dead Rising, the mall one.
Oh, that one's that's such a fun game. I love that game.
And like he went back and got like the hardest trophies for that, and like I'm just sitting there watching this 20-minute video, and I'm like, what? Because like you got to keep people alive for 7 days. You got to keep yourself alive. You got to like,
dude, getting the Mega Buster was such a tall task. Like that crap sucked. Like,
yeah, that's a good zombie game right there. Dead Rising.
But I was going. Okay, so Zombie says before I wrap up, says like grew up playing games like Left 4 Dead or Left 4 Dead 2. Yeah, those games are legit. But
an interesting topic, maybe if people wanted to hear about it from us, is a game that we would actually want to. What would it be? Silver trophy, 100%. Something. What makes you achievement hunt? Because like you just brought up achievement hunting. It's like there's only a select few games because, like you said, some of these things are too hard.
So we'll get.
I do want to wrap this up, but bringing up achievements, I found myself wanting to complete achievements more so on action adventure games than RPGs.
There we go.
Well, yeah, they're not. I feel like they're not as tedious.
I'm just saying another topic for another time.
Another topic for another time. So anyways, Mr. Brent, sir. Mr. Brent, sir, where can people find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel. I'm on a multi-week hiatus right now, just simply because I'm out of town for work. You can find me on Instagram, whip_media_slow. You can find me on YouTube, Work in Progress. I talk about video games, anime, manga, and just kind of whatever else I feel like talking about. I'm one of those optimistic pessimists that likes to post a bunch of negative crap, but at the same time upbeat about it. Yeah, so you can find me at those at my YouTube channel or my Instagram. But yeah, I'm not really doing anything right now because I'm out of state for work.
He's working on his OnlyFans like us.
Hey, you don't got to keep it business either. Throw up your Tinder, bro. What's your Tinder?
Like, all right. So real quick, Zombie says, to me, getting achievements is satisfying. I just love games. They are amazing. I'll always be a gamer. I respect that. Even the Resident Evil games are amazing. I mean, yeah, of course, Resident Evil is fantastic. But
Resident Evil's great.
Jacob, where can people find us?
TikTok at Dudeless Chat, Instagram at Dudeless Chat. If you're not watching us, check our YouTube at Dudeless Chat.
And we have an exclusive YouTube only Batman review that Jacob hates.
Oh.
And and just to say this, after many thoughts, I know I made a basic review saying it's a 9.5. It's a 7 now. I'll discuss it later.
Yes, I've changed opinions. Good.
It wasn't really you. It was me just rethinking. Fine, it was you. Fine, it was you. Fine. Looking forward to RE4 remake. Yeah, I'm looking for that too, dude. I'm excited for that. But yeah, so that's the show. Thanks for everyone that watched, and you can catch us at 9:30 Central Time every Thursday, or at least we try to every Thursday. Normally the boys will post, so hopefully there'll be a post that way you can get here ahead of time. But yeah, I think that wraps things up. So thanks for stopping by. Oh, and maybe one day we'll do something for Whip's channel. That'd be kind of tight.
Oh yeah, just a quick preview for whoever's watching. In a couple of weeks when I get back, I hope to have these gentlemen on my channel talk about dub versus sub.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I've been looking forward to
and why dub is better. Goodbye. I haven't ordered RE7 physical. Also amazing community you guys have.